Look closely at the zipper on your jeans. There is a massive chance it has 3 tiny letters stamped into the metal. YKK. That stamp belongs to a hyper-secretive Japanese manufacturer. Reporters estimate they make about half the world's zippers, over 10 billion units in fiscal 2024 alone. 10 billion units is roughly 3 million kilometers of chain. That wraps around the Earth 80 times. Yet YKK completely refuses to go public, perfectly happy operating in the shadows. How does a brand you can barely name establish a global stranglehold on the most important mechanism in your closet? They meticulously control every single step of the manufacturing recipe. The playbook traces back to January 1934. Tadao Yoshida launched Sanes Shokai in Tokyo, initially just processing and selling imported zippers. At the time, domestic zippers had an awful reputation. Workers literally hand-hammered individual metal teeth onto fabric tape. The end result was inconsistent, jam-prone garbage. Yoshida knew he could do better. But World War II almost erased the company entirely. His Tokyo factory burned to the ground during the 1945 air raids. Yoshida lost his base, but instead of folding, he retreated to Toyama, bought a provincial ironworks, and renamed the company Yoshida Kogyo KK, giving us the YKK initials. That is exactly where the famous YKK initials come from. But the pivot that actually built the empire happened in 1950, when Yoshida imported 4 automatic machines from America. He didn't just plug them in and hit start. His team aggressively modified the American hardware, securing their very first patent in 1953 for an improved intermittent chain machine. That single breakthrough sparked a permanent obsession with extreme vertical integration. Instead of buying parts from suppliers, YKK decided to build the entire sandbox themselves. Which brings us to the wildest secret about this company's operations. Why would a simple zipper brand need to operate its own massive metal smelter? Because they trust absolutely no one else's quality control. They literally melt their own brass to guarantee it reaches exactly 99.98% purity before touching your jacket. It goes deeper than metal. To ensure the teeth glide perfectly, YKK spins and twists its own custom polyester thread entirely from scratch. They weave their own fabric tape. Then they dye it themselves to guarantee the color matches a designer's exact garment specifications. They even fabricate their own cardboard shipping boxes. As for those high-speed zipper machines, YKK builds them in-house and keeps them strictly hidden. Why stomach that kind of capital intensity? Because a busted 20-cent zipper ruins a $200 pair of jeans. Fashion brands refuse to carry that risk. Owning the entire supply chain means YKK guarantees a zipper manufactured in Georgia is functionally identical to one made in Vietnam or Japan. They even lease and service the physical attaching machines on their customers' assembly lines. It drastically speeds up production and completely locks the client in. This system let them crush older giants. In 1974, YKK opened a massive integrated plant in Macon, Georgia, stealing the American market right from the legacy brand Talon. This fanatical consistency turned those stamped letters into a de facto consumer trust mark. Elite designers began specifying YKK hardware by name. But dominating a market always paints a target on your back. Because the stamp meant reliable quality, counterfeiters flooded Asia with millions of fake YKK zippers. The knockoffs were so relentless that YKK formed an official anti-counterfeiting committee in 1991. They even plastered bus ads across 9 Chinese cities to warn unsuspecting buyers. And the company's squeaky clean reputation took a massive, self-inflicted hit in 2007. The European Union busted a group of fastener companies for running a price-fixing cartel. YKK swallowed the largest single fine of the group, roughly 150.3 million euros. They appealed the ruling for years, but the core penalty held firm. But European fines aren't their biggest problem today. The real existential threat is a massive wave of Chinese competitors, led by a Shenzhen-listed giant called SBS. Founded in 1984, SBS explicitly targets the Japanese incumbent. They steadily reverse-engineered the automated playbook, eventually filing over 380 patents of their own. Chinese volume is staggering. Estimates suggest manufacturers like SBS and Weixing now pump out roughly 40% of global zipper production by volume, utterly dominating the budget tier. When cheaper rivals flood your market, you have to pivot. YKK leans hard into premium reliability, refusing to bleed margins in a race to the bottom. That's why economists estimate YKK holds 40% of the global market by value, but only 20% by volume. They let rivals fight over the cheap stuff, so they can own the hardware that absolutely cannot fail. But what if I told you that defending the global zipper crown isn't even YKK's biggest financial priority right now? Just look closely at their actual revenue. In fiscal year 2024, the YKK Group generated 998.2 billion yen in total sales. Yet their world-famous zipper business wasn't actually the top revenue driver. Their architectural products division, called YKK-AP, brought in more money. They make commercial windows, doors, and massive glass facades for skyscrapers. That architectural division raked in 561.6 billion yen in sales, quietly eclipsing the 433.1 billion yen generated by their iconic zippers and fastening hardware. Zippers remain the ultimate cash cow, however. The fastening segment pulls in significantly higher operating margins, essentially funding the massive scale of the window business. To maintain this delicate balance, YKK relies on a corporate structure Wall Street absolutely hates. They are entirely private, flatly refusing to list on a public exchange. While the Yoshida family retains significant influence, the single largest shareholder is actually the employee stock ownership plan, which holds a 24.42% stake. Staying private is a strategic superpower. Management never has to panic over quarterly earnings calls or fend off activist investors demanding short-term stock buybacks. Instead, they can quietly fund decade-long bets. In 2023, they moved their global sales headquarters to Vietnam, planting themselves directly beside the modern garment supply chain. They are also betting heavily on sustainability. YKK is scaling up recycled and plant-based zippers, aiming for 100% sustainable materials by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2050. The wager is simple. Premium fashion brands will pay up for eco-friendly hardware that aligns with their own strict corporate climate targets. But the apparel sector is volatile. Unpredictable tariffs constantly shift where clothes are assembled, forcing YKK to heavily leverage its global footprint to dodge border taxes. Which brings us back to those 3 tiny letters stamped on your jeans. They aren't there because YKK holds some impenetrable legal monopoly. They don't. Hundreds of cheaper Chinese alternatives exist, but no one else spent decades building a completely airtight supply chain where absolutely nothing is left to chance. When you forge the brass, spin the thread, and build the secret machines, you aren't just selling fasteners. You are selling absolute peace of mind. For a designer stitching together a $200 pair of jeans, choosing YKK is just a cheap insurance policy. A busted fly ruins the whole garment. The switching costs are massive, all driven by decades of boring, identical reliability. That absolute obsession with quality turned a burned-down Tokyo workshop into a near trillion-yen industrial powerhouse, quietly hiding in plain sight on half the clothes you own. It proves you don't need splashy ad campaigns or a public stock ticker to dominate an industry. Sometimes the deepest moat a company can dig is just smelting its own brass and executing the boring details flawlessly. Control the thread, master the secret machines, and you lock in the trust. And once you own the trust of the world's best designers, you quietly own the market. Go check your closet right now. If your favorite jacket actually zips up without catching, you finally know exactly who to thank.